Okay, so tonight I wanted to talk about nutrition, and I'm hoping a few more people come on, but in any event, it is a really important piece. I know that Kieran's book addresses some of the questions about feeding animals. When you care for them, when you're about to get an animal, what do you feed them? However, there are certain foods that are really good for including in your pet's human foods that are really good in including in your pet's bowl, and there are some that are not. The ones that come to mind that are not are onions and garlic and nuts. I always thought mushrooms were good for them. Alas, that article that I pulled up that's in the chat will give you some information that I'm going to, work with you all tonight to decide, because it's really interesting. Chocolate, we all knew, not good. Coffee, well, I wouldn't give my dog coffee anyway. I own Irish setters. Are you kidding me? Why would I want to caffeinate them? I would like to take a blood transfusion from them so I would have as much energy as they do. The reason I wanted to talk about nutrition tonight is because when you're addressing the needs of your pet, this is something that's really important. So before I get too far into the subject of nutrition, and I'm so glad everybody's here, I want to introduce myself. I'm Deborah Hamilton, and you're here listening to the MAAP program, the community that addresses the needs of our pets in the event something occurs and something happens to us. I'll give you a brief recap of my 10 days. I was in Chicago over Thursday, Friday, speaking at the Blue River Pet Care Conference. Now, Blue River is one of the corporates who are buying small vet pet practices and helping them administrate them. And it is with all good and wonderful love and affection. They have hired me several times to speak to their groups, both in webinar trainings and at the conference, on how to have a conscious conversation with their clients and their staff, and maybe even with themselves, so that they understand the things that are happening when they have a disagreement or because things become difficult, what occurs in your body, what occurs in the other person's body, and how to address it. So I was thrilled to be in Chicago speaking with them. And we had a number of laughs, one of which, Connie, you will understand. So I said to the audience, which were mostly veterinarians, vet managers, and vet techs, I said, I am probably your worst nightmare, because not only am I an attorney, right there, you don't like me, but I'm a breeder. I said, and so the doors are in the back, we can all get out and leave. And it was very amazing to me that most of the people I saw that night, if you saw my Facebook posts, most of the people that I saw that night said, we don't like breeders. We don't like breeders at all. And it actually made me realize I need to double down on speaking with purebred dog clubs, because I don't think we realize how disliked we are by the greatest number of vets going. I actually found this out because, as everyone knows, I just moved to a new state looking for a veterinarian, and I introduced myself as a breeder, and it was as if I had leprosy. So I am finding it hard to find someone to work with. We need to do better at not making vets want to put a sign on their door that says no breeders allowed, or if you're going to come in, we're not going to listen to you, because one of the vets I spoke to at the zoo said, I love when they come in and tell me what their vaccination protocol is, right, Connie? And we laugh hysterically, because of course we always send home a vaccine protocol, because we know how our dogs respond to different vaccinations. So it was just really interesting. But tonight we're going to talk about nutrition. I'm so glad everybody's here. I'm going to check in with everyone, see that everyone and their pet. I still haven't gotten in touch with Alex. It's been a little bit of a rough 10 days, Kieran. So I'm hoping she is here tonight. I apologize that I have not yet been able to get in touch with her one-on-one. In the chat is the article that I'm going to be talking from tonight. on nutrition. So if anybody wants to pop over and just hit it so you can read it later, that'd be great. At the beginning of this discussion, I talked about the kinds of foods that we all pretty much know are not good for our pets. I was surprised actually to see mushrooms because I did not realize that, the white mushrooms were not good for them. We cook them with butter and the dogs love them. So now the dogs will be not loving them any longer because we didn't realize mushrooms can be poisonous and can cause sedation. I'm pretty sure that mushrooms say that some mushrooms are safe for consumption by dogs. Still, if you're not, well, I would never let my dog eat a mushroom. I don't know about you guys, out in the lawn. That would never happen. In fact, our lawn became a mushroom farm last week before I left for Chicago. And I'm out there with the pooper scooper, picking mushroom tops and trying to get them from the root. So I kid you not, and I have a really big pooper scooper. I had 6 pooper scoopers full of mushrooms. And I did not check whether or not they were poisonous. I just assume if they're out in the yard, they're not the ones in the supermarket, which I buy. So I threw them out. But really, mushrooms, don't let them eat them unless you know that they're safe. It says here, still, if you're not sure, play it safe. Don't ever provide mushrooms as dog food. Oh, and the reason I brought this up tonight, beside the fact that we all should be conscious of what we're feeding our dogs and in addressing the needs of your pet, you need to tell those caregivers what kind of food your dogs like and dislike. But I had a great conversation with a veterinarian who's it just went out of my brain. It's not conformity, but it is, it's not consignment. She makes sure that people follow the rules. So I'll think of it. It'll come to me. But she's the one who makes sure that everyone follows the rules with respect to nutrition. And she said, you'd be really surprised how many people get talked into buying food from their neighbor, raw food or things like that. And there's no check and balance on the meat they're using, the ingredients they're using. I know I myself bought raw food from someone who was very nice, and I thought it smelled beautiful. But, I realized that the vet had a point, that there is a need to make sure that whatever is in our food is safe. So it's not saying that you should only buy, store-bought food or veterinarian supplied food. But if you're going to change the nutritional ingredients in your dog's or cat's food, just make sure it's something that is good for them. So I'm going to check in now with everyone. I know, Sally, you're going to have to leave early because it's getting dark there. And are you having another thunderstorm?
No, not tonight, last night, and tomorrow, but tonight we're home free, I think.
Great, super. And the girls are doing well? No pictures this week, very sad.
No, I was out in Arizona.
I heard that.
Yeah, actually, when we went to the chiropractor, she suggested a particular vitamin for the girls. She said that the one we were using was not working. We had a supplement, a CBD supplement. She said it's not working. And she suggested a liquid one. And then I went to the vet 2 days later and I gave it to the vet. And she said, well, did she sell it to you? It was all natural ingredients. I said, no. She suggested it, but we got it online. And she said, I think that in itself says something, because the fact that the chiropractor was not trying to sell you something and make a profit on that. And so far, so good. The girls are doing well. So.
Yay. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that, because the girls, every day is a gift. So the girls are doing beautifully. Thank God. Connie, how's the big champion man?
Well, he's a grand champion. Yes, I am very, very pleased to announce that we finished Casey's grand championship up at the Santa Barbara cluster last weekend. So sorry to have missed you the past 2 weeks, but it was for a good cause. And he went best of opposite sex, best of breed owner handler all 3 days. We left Saturday afternoon after the win photos because I was down for the count. We had 9 o'clock ring times, which meant 5 o'clock wake ups every morning. Yes. And driving back and forth between Ventura and Santa Barbara because of the horrific hotel prices in Santa Barbara. But at any rate, we got the deed done. He had only been showing as a special since March at Beverly Hills and Great Western, and he finished very, very quickly. And has 7 majors under his belt. You only need 3 to get the title. So I'm really, really proud of my boy. And we were up against heavy duty handling, professional handling competition. The Oliveras, Susie and Jorge, and also Amy Rutherford. When I saw them at the entrance of the ring on Thursday, I said some expletives deleted to myself, but anyway, we hung in there and my boy did his thing. So I'm very proud of him. I am very loosely dressed today because we are undergoing an excessive heat wave starting today, going from San Diego all the way up to Sacramento in the Bay Area. We're talking triple digits. It is beastly even here by the ocean. My air conditioning has been going full blast since about 11 o'clock this morning. And we're the coolest part of Metro LA. So it is going to be brutal. And I hope everybody keeps their pets safe and we do not have fires.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. Oh my God. Yeah, those triple digits are almost all the way up and down the West Coast. I saw that, but I didn't know it went all the way up to Sacramento. That's unbelievable.
Yep.
Wow. Jen, how are you doing and how's Tonka?
Oh, everybody is good. Thank you. Yeah, we're all well.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But I'm starting, I listed myself for pet sitting.
Yep.
So it's interesting because I think the woman who asked me to sit for her cats thought I was totally crazy with all the questions I asked.
And you said, wait a minute, I go to this thing on Wednesday nights and I need to know this.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I think, the directions and everything, it was just like, I think she's like, wow, I'm glad you're thorough, but.
But I don't even think I have the answers to that. Well, I'd like to show everyone that Jan sent me a copy of her wonderful book, and I'm halfway through it already. Spoil Your Pet. I was thrilled, and what a lovely card. I was thrilled to have her as a guest, and anyone, Karen, who wants to be a guest speaker on the community to speak about what they do or something that's really important to them, please don't hesitate to just let me know. Oh, compliance. Thank you, Rose. She's my brain. Rose and I actually spent 2 hours together because we're redoing Hamilton Law Mediation to Hamilton ADR, and my brain is fried. So I'm glad somebody has half a brain today, and that's good. So Kieran, how's everything with you?
I was just going to say, all good. It's quite cold here, strangely enough, at the moment. So cold and wet, and they have better weather in Ireland than in Tenerife. So it's sort of strange. This time last year, we were in triple digits here, and it was too hot to do anything. But just what you were saying there earlier, Debbie, and with the vets not liking the dog breeders, it reminds me of a wonderful story many years ago in Ireland where one of the dog training schools I was working with had a lot of complaints, I would say uneasiness about one of the largest rescue shelters in Ireland. And yet the veterinary chain that worked with them wouldn't say boo, even though the dogs on the street, I don't know if you know that term, everybody knew the dogs on the streets knew the standards weren't great. So one of the things that jumps out at me is, I think a lot of people in the, not just people, but parts of the entire pet industry, I really think they need to start talking to each other a lot more and quite quickly, because it's like they're all holding on to their own piece of the jigsaw, but nobody wants to see the big picture. And the big picture looks terrible at the moment. But
I love that. I'm going to steal that from you. They're all, next time I talk to veterinarians or to owners or to breeders, I'm going to say, we all have our piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and we're so committed to it that we don't realize that it fits into the bigger picture, but we have to actually submit it to be part of the big picture. Yeah. And also recognize that Kieran's piece and Sally's piece and Connie's piece and Jan's piece and Susan's pieces are just as important, and you have to listen.
I'll put it this way, Debbie, just I don't want to hijack the conversation, but do you know that lovely phrase, follow the money? And that's where you see the picture. And I think I brought this up before on this podcast, which was, if you take the 4 largest animal charities in the US, say, that's the ASPCA, Best Friends,
HSUS,
Humane
right?
Society, and the HU, You get the 4 of those together, they have an income from donated income of 700 million per year. And what they don't seem to understand is the puppy mill operators. Now, I'm not talking about everybody else in the chain, but just the guys who have their warehouses or even the backstore. They make the same amount of money every 35 days.
Yep.
So so I would say, until you stop holding onto your piece of the jigsaw, this will go from bad to worse. And if it's allowed to continue, there'll be quite a few shocks coming down the system. Now, to put this in a different context, I remember back in the 80s when I was entering the banks and working in the financial world, there was this story going around that the mafia and criminal control gangs, or organized crime is what I was looking for, organized crime, roughly held about 10% of all the stocks on the stock market. And today it's about 60%. So if I would say, if the pet care industry doesn't get its act together soon, what you're going to discover is the shareholders or the people who control the large veterinary chains will be the organized criminal gangs, and they will have, they will be the same people who run the puppy mills.
It's interesting you said that. I'm going to take that topic up next week, Karen, because it's interesting you said that. We don't have enough dogs for the people who want dogs, as in if they don't want shelter dogs. We don't have enough dogs. There are now dogs being bred that are designer dogs, which may or may not be an appropriate use of either the mother or the father. There's different schools of thought, pieces of the puzzle for that. And as I said to my veterinarians at this conference, if you don't talk to breeders, you're going to run out of product. And you want to really foster a relationship with breeders who do take the time to test and back up and speak to the veterinarians. It's the ones that do it for other reasons. However, again, I'm going to breeders' national clubs and talking to them about the way they speak to their owners as well. Because a number of owners don't want to speak with breeders because they want it their way or the highway. And I get it, because I'm a their way or the highway person too. I don't sell anything that isn't on co-ownership. However, it's because of my piece of the puzzle, right? My experience. And I know that I need to do much more to inure a relationship with my owners than I used to do. And definitely I'm going to do more in the future. But you're absolutely right. If we don't take hold of the process as welfare advocates on every level, because every breeder is a welfare advocate for every dog, specifically for us, Wheatons or Irish, and anyone else in Catons. However, we really want to make sure that every dog is raised in a healthy environment. And that's why we're handling nutrition tonight. So we will get to that next week. Rose, make a note. We're going to talk about, Kieran's query today, because I think it is really important. And I must say that when the legislative liaisons gathered at AKC, they wanted us to support corporate puppy breeders because otherwise purebred dogs were going to go away, because purebred dog breeders are a dying lot. We are all older than dirt, and it takes a long time to breed a litter of puppies. It's a lot of energy, a lot of expense. I don't think any breeder makes money breeding a litter of puppies. So it just is something that's absolutely needing to be talked about. So Kieran, keep that thought because we're going to go there next week. Rose, make a note. Susan, so I want everybody to know before we go to nutrition, which I promise we will. I looked at Susan's pedigree on Maggie, and it is a pedigree from the Catan Club of sort of the world, the universe. It's an international pedigree. And so there are no champions on this pedigree of AKC champions. There might be champions somewhere, but they're not listed there. So I have been feverishly, Susan, trying to find someone who I can communicate with. So I have not forgotten about finding your breeder or the club, but I have yet to be successful in finding it, but I am looking for it. So how's Maggie doing? Is she still on trazodone?
She is, and it's just a dramatic difference in her behavior. I think Tom forgot to give the pill one day, and it was just unbearable.
You saw the difference.
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. Yeah, and I want to find a good holistic vet I can take her to and really just sit down and talk about the weight problem, her insatiable appetite. You know, I keep wondering if maybe there's a supplement or something that I should be giving her, you know.
Well, that goes along with nutrition for sure. And I think everybody on this call has had a heavy dog at some point or another. And in the article that's in the chat over on the side, it does talk about vegetables that you can give your dogs, not in a great deal of quantity. However, our always go-to is green beans. I always get the stringy, you know, the French cut, I guess it's called, or whatever, the shoestring string beans, frozen. And then I defrost them and sort of drain them of as much water as I can. I don't get them the canned ones unless I'm traveling on the road because they have so much salt. Even if you get the non-salt ones, they have just a lot of salt. So I always get the frozen ones. Carrots, of course, Susan, if you can swap out some of Maggie's treats for a quarter of one of those little tiny carrots, those nub carrots, if you cut them in fours and give her one, not only will it fill her up, but it will clean her teeth at the same time. Do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
You cut them in fours though, because she's a little dog, but you don't want to cut them too small so she chokes on them, God forbid. But if you cut them in at least half, but possibly fours, she will be able to have those. But those, you know, they have a lot of sugar. So if she's heavy, don't go too overboard with that. I was surprised how many of you have ever fed your dogs asparagus. I love asparagus. I think asparagus is great, but they said that the vitamins and minerals are great. So if you want to switch out the string beans, which we all know, for asparagus once a week, that would be great. But Susan, absolutely fill Maggie's bowl with, well, she's little, so your bowl is probably only about a cup big. So I would say, what would you say, Connie, about a quarter of a cup of string beans for her, and Jan and Sally, about a quarter of a cup of string beans along with her chow and maybe a carrot or two.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And she loves vegetables. She will eat anything and everything.
Well, we will let you know that onions and garlic are a no-go.
No, I'm very cognizant of certain things that are not good.
But spinach is a good one too. I don't eat spinach, and it'll never cross my lips. Never. But dogs love spinach, so that would be a really good thing as well.
Spinach, carrots, and green beans. Okay.
The other comment I have to make is that, you know, I've had a number of conversations through the years being in my world, the more holistic world, and talk to veterinarians, and most of the portion sizes on the bags are in excess of what they really need.
Big time.
Exactly. And they have an objective
to sell the
to sell more food. That's right, to sell more food. And so, you might want to try decreasing the portion size of the food and increasing the vegetables. I mean, Tonka
Right.
gets fruit. I mean, fruit is sugar, but it's better than kibble, which is a lot of starch and carbohydrates, which, fillers, which they don't necessarily need. So I would look at the portion size that you're giving.
Susan, if you really want to be scientific, I had a situation where my Patsy, who was lying at my feet, Casey's mom, after she gave birth to his litter, she was he and his 5 siblings were packed into her the day before they were whelped on x-ray. They looked like sardines, only big, chunky sardines, and they were big puppies. After she whelped and after she finished nursing, she was a little zoftic, shall we say, and she had always been beautifully slim and trim when she was showing, and she never ever had a weight problem, always very active. And then right after the proper time elapsed, I had her spayed because she was finished breeding. She was 5 years old, and that threw her into hypothyroidism. So she went from being a slim and trim 32 pounds, which is right where she should have been, all the way up to 42 pounds. And my vet and I were both going, oh my God. So what the vet and I did was we actually looked at the kilocalories on the back. I feed wet and dry. We looked at the kilocalories on the back of the can and on the back of the sack of kibble. And we calculated exactly the portion size per her weight. And then I gradually decreased it and I put her on a reduced calorie kibble. And it took a while, but she is now, I am very happy to report, at the age of 8, still getting Synthroid every single day, twice a day, but she is back to 33 pounds right on the nose. So it can be done, but the best thing to do is to actually calculate the calorie intake and then reduce from there.
Yeah, I probably need to work with a vet just to make sure she doesn't have some kind of medical issue.
Right.
Yep.
You check that out first, is do the blood work.
You always check out their thyroids, because sometimes, and if she's spayed, that can sometimes lead to it as well, because the hormones go crazy beside the thyroid going crazy.
You bet.
However, if you rule out or you address any issues that come up at the vet's office, then being able to see the calories, good catch, Connie, because and Jan, because yes, my dogs no more eat the amount of food that's recommended for their breed on the back of a bag than the Man in the Moon. I mean, Junie is a lovely 62 pounds and he eats 4 cups of chow a day, 2 in the morning and 2 at night. So does Mariah, and she might be a little heavier than she was when she got here, but she was a little bit of a skinny balink, so it's not so bad, although I'm sure when her mother comes, she'll say she's a little bit of a cow, and then that'll easily get run off when we stop feeding her for 2 or 3 weeks. No, I'm only kidding, everyone. We will not stop feeding her for 2 or 3 weeks. We will just give her a little bit of a diet. But you're absolutely right, Jan. It is important to make sure that you know what's in the kibble, and if you're going to supplement, know what you're supplementing with. And of course, whatever you're doing, you need to write it down, because that's addressing the needs of your pet. If your pet needs thyroid medication, I'm sure that all of that information is in Connie's MAAP plan, because nobody's going to know. And then either she'll blow up or something will occur, weight-wise, not blow up, but get heavy. I know that Sally's been working on the perfect combination of food for the girls as well, because at 12 and 13, they sometimes naturally lose weight, or as most of us have seen, they are obese at older ages, because people just give them cookies and they're not very mobile. Well, the girls are very mobile. They walk between 1 mile and 5 miles, I think, a day. However, the food is always adjusted and made for their purposes. And I know, Sally, you use a lot of vegetables.
Yes, we do. They eat twice a day. It's 2 dogs. And it's, for each dog, 2 cups in the morning of vegetables and 2 cups at night of vegetables. And then they split 1 cup of either quinoa or brown rice. So they each get a half cup of brown rice. They each get we split a 1/4 cup of cheese. And then in the morning they get salmon or cod or flounder.
We want to go live at Sally's house because it's
also
usually sauteed.
A scrambled egg. And then in the evening, they get a pork chop because one of them can't eat chicken and can't eat beef. And I'm sorry, Deborah, they're almost the identical weight. And
poor Roxy, she's starving.
People can't tell them apart any longer. They go, which one's which? Even the vet goes, now wait, which is which dog?
They have to know that. So Connie, you have to know that Roxy was pretty zoftic after she was spayed. And then she went to live at the concentration camp. Oh no, the Sally and Gordon camp. And so now she is starving. She has eaten legs off tables at Sally's house, but they're okay with that.
And lunch, she gets a vitamin. They each get a vitamin and then a CBD and then another liquid vitamin, which was pointed out to us by the vet, make sure they've got enough vitamins. Yeah. And we run it by our vet and she's watching what we're feeding them. And I've consulted with one of the owners of a sister of one of the dogs, what she was allergic to and not allergic to. One had an ear problem. So we're trying to incorporate all that. And so far, so good, knock on wood.
Yep.
They're drinking a lot of water. They walk, 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, sometimes more. And, they're both 13. So they seem to be doing very well. We'll just keep our fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And so, Susan, that's part of, I think, what Maggie might need as well is some consistent walking of 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day on a leash, because I know that that's what Connie does. I know that's what Jan does. I know Sally does it. And I walk the 2 hoodlums despite the rabbits here in North Carolina. And I know, Kieran, in your book, you probably talk about the need for walking. Otherwise, your house will be destroyed as well. So nutritionally, it's really important that if you're going to do anything, make sure you ask your vet. So Susan, if you're going to switch anything or put vegetables in, it says that if you add broccoli, this was new to me, but if you add broccoli, be very careful. It does boost your dog's immune system and it fights arthritis inflammation. However, if you give them more than 5% of their diet is broccoli, so any of you who like broccoli like I do, I know this feeling, it can upset your digestive tract, which you either burp broccoli or it goes the other way, and that's not very nice. So make sure that broccoli is not the mainstay, but they didn't say that about asparagus. So I'm pretty sure that asparagus is good to go, and I don't have any reactions to asparagus either. So as we wrap up tonight, let me know what your thoughts are as far as what you've put in your MAAP plan for your nutritional needs of your dogs. Jan, I'm going to go start with you.
Well, Tonka I've had Tonka's food sensitivity done and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I have a list of foods that he cannot have, or ingredients he cannot have. I'm hoping, since it took me a number of years to get his diet balanced and him balanced, I'm hoping that nobody switches or they don't ever switch ingredients.
Or they don't believe you, right? She's just a hypochondriac. He'll be fine.
Or the company itself doesn't decide to change an ingredient, which has happened too, where they say, you buy the same food and all of a sudden they change the ingredient list, which happened during COVID. But I have the opposite direction because Tonka's, so actually he put on 2 pounds and the vet was totally ecstatic. She was like, oh my gosh. And it was muscles. So that was even better. So, but I have a huge description because he has like very detailed dietary needs.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have that big a description. And in fact, I've sort of switched. I've switched Mariah to a little bit of a different diet. I have some of her kibble, but I like this other kibble just as much. So when her owner comes, I'm probably going to have to either listen to how I ruined her dog, or that we will put her back on the other chow. I get it, because we really are very wedded to what we do. And so I respected that she wanted this chow. I just thought it was pretty boring and looked really, so I threw it a little bit different. And of course she gets a little bit of the meat and vegetables that I put in, which will probably ruin her for going home, but I digress. You know, we all are bad when we're watching someone else's dogs. Connie, how about you? What about the kids? What's their particular diet?
Well, typically I have everything on an Excel spreadsheet for each of the dogs. Bad habits from my professional life. But at any rate, they get, as I mentioned, a combination of wet and dry, because my vet says that, the wet increases the amount of hydration that they get and is very good. And contrary to
Especially in the desert.
Yes. And contrary to old wives' tales, it does not create more tartar or plaque on the teeth. And besides, mine get their teeth brushed regularly with their grooming. And they love it. So I feed Froms, and am very happy with it. Skin and coat are absolutely magnificent. And then of course, Casey is not on medication, but Patsy is, as I mentioned. So, that is all listed too. But I wanted to also bring up the issue of too grain-free or not too grain-free.
Oh God.
With the whole DCM dispute. And since the initial brouhaha came out, there has also been some news that the researchers who actually did the initial research on DCM, saying, "Oh God, grain-free everything, no grains," were actually being funded by dog food manufacturers who were pushing grain-free food. And actually, I took mine off grain-free for a while and, put them on whole grains, but they didn't like it. So, they're back on grain-free. And I talked at length with my vet about it. And she said, your breed isn't at risk. Don't sweat it. All your dogs have lived to ripe old ages. Don't sweat it. So, there is the little bit of payola involved in, who is funding the research. So, we have to take this all with literally, pardon the pun, with a grain of salt, and, figure out what is best for our dogs with our vets.
Absolutely. That was just what I was going to add. Susan, how about you?
Well, I'd like to find a nice holistic vet that I can have a good relationship with, and really somebody I feel is going to really be listening to my concerns and supporting me. I've explored a little bit trying to find someone, but it's not easy. And
Susan, can you remind me where you are?
I'm in Northern Virginia. There is a vet I'm considering in Great Falls, Virginia, Seneca Hills.
Well, because I was on my podcast last week, because it's not close, but I guess you could reach out. I had my old holistic vet from New Jersey on, and they're building the largest holistic vet center in the country. 6 vets, wow. 6 vets, 24 hours open. So it's going to be like,
where in New Jersey?
Where in New Jersey? It's in Whippany, which is near Morristown.
Which is northern.
Which is northern, yeah. It's
mid-northern, yeah.
It's north and west, yeah.
Mid-northern, so it would be hard for you, but Jan, they might know someone in
but that's why I mentioned it, because I'm happy to put his contact information in the chat for you, Susan.
Okay, that would be helpful, thank you.
And if you don't get it out of the chat, let us know, and Rose and I will send it to you, so that way you can take it. Yeah, because it really is important to get Maggie, because she's still young, to a good weight, because that's going to really put stress on her bones that you don't want. And Sally, How about you? I know you and Gordon have worked really hard to find that absolute perfect diet.
Well, we're just doing the best that we can. And, they're older girls, and I'm talking to other people that have dogs, in the same line, you and Susan. And one of our dogs absolutely wouldn't eat. I mean, no matter which kibble we gave her, and
Yeah.
we consulted.
That would not be Roxy, by the way.
That was not Roxy, no. But she just simply wouldn't eat. And then they loved chicken. And then the other woman said, well, my dog's really allergic to chicken, and she's getting ear infections and bad skin. So we eliminated chicken, that helped, but at least she's eating. And the vet did say, because they're both slim, add potatoes. So our dogs eat kale, spinach, potatoes, carrots, squash. Yeah. And then, so that's about it. But and we are doing the research and running, we're working with our vet. And of course, my husband loves cooking for the dogs. So I'm like, if that's what you want to do, great. So
we love him. And you would eat what he cooks for the dogs. I'm just telling you, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I mean, what he cooks is just fantastic. So anyway, and I'm babysitting another dog tonight. So I'm going to go pick up that dog with her bed. So I'm going to run. And thank you so much, Deborah, and everybody. And
bye, Sally.
Yeah,
Karen, don't forget, next week you're on the deck for discussions about what we're going to do to keep it's a big question. So feeding them and everything else, but keeping pets available, but also making sure that we do it in a holistic manner. So we're going to talk about that next week. Karen, you're on.
I'm on holistic manner. I'm just want to throw a quick question to Jan there about the importance of rice in the dog's diet.
Rice? I mean, I've heard mixed things about.
I have too. It depends on the dog.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say about food too. It really depends on the dog. My cats ate raw for 18 years, and I tried Tonka on raw, and he didn't do well on raw.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Dogs let us know. The cats let us know. The horses, everybody lets us know what works for them. So rice sometimes. I mean, I don't really feed my dogs a rice-based grain food. I feed them ancient grains, which is I guess it might have a little rice in it, but I don't think it might be brown rice. So you're right, Kira. There's different feelings about rice,
and it can set up food allergies. My bestie's younger Wheaton girl, who's 3, has terrible food allergies to rice. So she has to read labels when she's picking out dog food.
And I have to tell you, when I have my puppies, I don't know what you do, Connie, but I usually give them rice as their first food. It's baby pablum as their first food. Because you don't want something to run through them, and rice tends to be a little bit of a
binding,
stop you up kind of thing.
Yes.
Because when you're crossing them over, you need to make sure they don't get diarrhea, so they don't
exactly.
And it's a whole big thing. So, however, I do it for only a short period of time, and once I know that they're past probably 3 or 4 days past the transition, I then do oatmeal as opposed to as the binder as opposed to rice. So it's all up to the kind of dogs that react to different things. So until next week, this is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton ADR, North Carolina, and this wonderful MAAP community. Thank you all for being here. Hope you enjoyed our nutrition talk. And until next time, take good care and give my kisses to all of my kids. To my Wheatons, to my Tonka, to my Maggie, and of course, the redheads everywhere. And Kieran, you probably were a redhead, so you get a kiss anyway. Take care, everyone.